There is an absolute disaster unfolding right now in the state of Indiana, and it feels like we are watching a slow-motion car crash that the front office is refusing to steer away from. The basketball world is in a state of sheer disbelief. The fans are screaming, the analysts are utterly bewildered, and the back-to-back WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces are sitting back and laughing at the absolute incompetence of the Indiana Fever organization. This is no longer just a rumor. This is not just a speculative discussion about contract logistics. It is official, it is devastating, and it represents one of the most baffling roster management decisions in the history of professional basketball. The Indiana Fever, standing face-to-face with a highly aggressive offer sheet from the Las Vegas Aces, have officially decided to throw in the towel. They refused to counter, they folded under the pressure. And just like that, without a single fight, Justine Pissott is gone. To grasp the magnitude of this colossal failure, you have to look at what this team actually needs to survive and thrive in a modern, hyper-competitive league. The Indiana Fever are currently operating with the most influential veteran in the entire basketball landscape running their point guard position. Caitlin Clark is a generational floor general, a battle-tested veteran who sees the game of basketball completely differently than anyone else on the hardwood. But in order for an influential veteran like Clark to execute her devastating, high-speed, visionary style of play, she desperately requires one specific thing: absolute floor spacing. She needs athletic, long, capable shooters on the perimeter who can drag defenders out of the paint and punish double teams with relentless three-point shooting. And sitting right there, practically begging for an opportunity on a flimsy developmental contract, was a 6'4" offensive unicorn who was custom-built to play alongside Caitlin Clark.
Oh, no, man. This deserves an oh, no. Come on, man. What is this? What is this, man? First, I'm seeing she signed a sheet for the Aces. And now I'm seeing this, man. Fever will not counter Aces offer sheet for Justine Pissott per Chloe Peterson. Oh, no, man. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? We got to talk about this. Hit the like, hit the hype, hit the noti bell so y'all know what
Justine Pissott was the ultimate chess piece. During the incredibly brief moments we actually saw her step onto the court during the preseason, she proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that she had the exact DNA required to elevate this offense. We are talking about a towering wing with an incredibly high basketball IQ, a player who shot the lights out in the highly competitive SEC, and someone who possesses the rare ability to serve as a stand-still rim protector on defense while completely stretching the floor on offense. She was a match made in heaven for the high-octane system that Caitlin Clark thrives in. If you put a lethal sniper like Pissott in the corner or on the wing, opposing defenses simply cannot collapse into the paint when Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston run their devastating pick-and-roll action. It becomes a completely unguardable scenario. But instead of recognizing this obvious, undeniable synergy, the Indiana Fever coaching staff, led by Stephanie White, chose to keep her buried on the bench. They kept her on a developmental roster spot, dangerously exposed to the rest of the league, while continuing to allocate precious standard roster spots to aging veterans who bring absolutely zero positive impact to the floor. The fans begged them. The analysts warned them. We all looked at the situation and screamed at the front office to wake up and protect their assets before a smart championship contender recognized the massive loophole. But the Fever arrogantly refused to listen.
And talk about what I saw first, all right? I saw Tony East getting it in, dropping the bomb on me, man, making my heart drop to my feet. I mean, I don't know what was going on here, but he ended up dropping just in from the WNBA transaction log. The Las Vegas Aces have tendered an offer sheet to Fever Developmental for Justine Pissott. It's a standard contract offer that the Fever have 1 day to match. Today is the league-wide contract guarantee deadline in the WNBA, all right? So I saw that and I said, oh my goodness, we knew.
Enter the Las Vegas Aces. Enter Becky Hammon. When you are running a back-to-back championship empire, you do not just focus on your own roster. You heavily scout the weaknesses and the blind spots of your competitors. The Aces scouting department looked over at the Indiana Fever bench saw a massive 6'4" elite shooter rotting away under poor coaching management, and they struck with absolute, ruthless precision. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew the Fever front office was paralyzed by indecision and obsessed with protecting underperforming players. The Aces tendered a standard contract offer, slamming a brutal 24-hour countdown clock directly onto Stephanie White's desk. It was the ultimate power move. It was a hostile takeover orchestrated in broad daylight, challenging the Indiana Fever to finally make a tough, necessary decision. And how did the Fever respond to this aggressive challenge? They completely capitulated. They surrendered without firing a single shot. When the reports from Chloe Peterson officially confirmed that the Fever would not be countering the offer sheet, a collective groan echoed across the entire fan base. It is a decision that completely defies logic, basketball strategy, and basic common sense.
We knew what was going on. We all were saying, put Justine Pissott on the roster. Okay, put her on the roster, man. We know who should have left the roster if she was coming up. We know who should have been put down. Do I have to say it? Damiris Dantas, man, all right? Damiris Dantas should have been off the roster. I'm sorry, man. I know some of y'all love her, but my goodness, man. Justine would have came out, fresh pair of legs, more athletic. Come on, man. Come on, man. Put Justine Pissott on that roster. But then he followed up with the
This is where the frustration completely boils over into absolute outrage. The solution to keeping Justine Pissott was staring the front office right in the face. All they had to do was waive Damiris Dantas. All they had to do was admit that keeping an aging, non-contributing center on a standard protected contract was a massive mistake, swallow their pride, and open up the roster spot for a young, athletic player who perfectly complemented their influential veteran point guard. The excuse that you cannot cut a protected contract is complete garbage. Teams waive protected players all the time when they realize they need to pivot and secure a highly valuable asset for the future of the franchise. You can trade her, you can waive her, and eat the cap hit. You do whatever is absolutely necessary to protect a player like Pissott from falling into the lap of a championship rival. But the Indiana Fever care more about their twisted, confusing version of culture than they care about building a dynasty. They would rather protect a player who literally cannot run the floor in transition than secure a dynamic wing who makes Caitlin Clark's life exponentially easier. It is deeply concerning, and it makes you question the fundamental competency of the people making the decisions inside that facility.
Can help with. Come on, man. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Like, the Fever have the size to run a big lineup, right? Grace, 6'4". Justine, 6'4". Aaliyah Boston, I think she's like 6'4". I know she's listed at 6'5", 6'4". Like, fam, you have some size on this team that y'all not utilizing. What's up with loving small players and small lineup? Like, what's going on, man? Man, I done lost my mind, y'all. I done lost it, man. I don't know what's going on with this Fever team.
Think about the sheer terror a lineup featuring Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Justine Pissott would inflict upon opposing defenses. You are looking at a roster that has the potential to field immense size, incredible length, and deadly perimeter shooting, all at the exact same time. The Fever had the pieces to run a massive, incredibly intimidating lineup that could completely dominate the boards and block out the sun in the paint. But for reasons that nobody outside of that coaching staff will ever understand, Stephanie White has an inexplicable obsession with running incredibly small, physically outmatched lineups that get bullied and beaten down the stretch of close games. By letting Pissott walk away, they have effectively stripped themselves of the one player who could have completely altered their defensive identity while seamlessly fitting into their offensive strategy. And they did not just lose her, they practically gift-wrapped her and handed her over to the most dangerous, well-equipped team in the entire league. The Las Vegas Aces already have A'ja Wilson dominating the paint. They already have an arsenal of offensive weapons that terrify the rest of the WNBA. And now, thanks to the sheer incompetence of the Indiana Fever, you are giving them a 6'4" stretch wing who is highly motivated, deeply frustrated, and eager to prove to the world that Indiana made a colossal mistake.
Man, spreading that floor. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? Once Pissott got in the lineup could have been exactly what I've been waiting for. a 5-player lineup where everybody can shoot threes and spreading that floor, leaving that paint wide open for anything to happen. Then you run that pick and roll with Caitlin and AB. It's going to be wide open. Then they're going to collapse that defense. And guess who's on the wing? Guess who's on in the corner, right? You got Justine Pissott out there. Even if you wanted to run.
The psychological impact of this decision is going to be incredibly heavy. When you are an influential veteran like Caitlin Clark, you heavily depend on your front office to surround you with the absolute best talent available. You trust that management will be aggressive, that they will identify the players who make your system work, and that they will fight tooth and nail to keep those players on your roster. What does it say to your franchise superstar when the front office refuses to lift a single finger to secure a perfectly compatible weapon? What does it say when the front office would rather protect players who sit on the bench and contribute nothing, rather than invest in a dynamic shooter who naturally elevates the pace of the game? Justine Pissott is gone, and the reverberations of this disastrous decision are going to echo throughout the entire season. The next time the Indiana Fever step onto the court against the Las Vegas Aces, they are going to have to look across the floor and see the massive, glaring mistake they let slip right through their fingers. They are going to have to watch Pissott knock down threes in a different uniform, under a different coach who actually knows how to utilize her generational talent. The Fever failed today. They failed their fans, they failed their roster, and most importantly, they failed the most influential veteran in the game. And in a league as ruthless as this one, that level of incompetence never goes unpunished.